Hello everyone, welcome to yet another insightful episode of Derana BIZ 24. For the past few decades, we've seen a drastic change in the education industry. And today's discussion is all about different perspectives of modern trends of learning where parents and teachers could get involved in. And to have this discussion, we have a very eminent personality with us today. Before I get into his name, let me introduce him in this way. He has over 30 years of experience in the health industry and over 15 years of experience in the education industry. And for over a decade of being an academic and certified master trainer in Australia, he is also an honorary faculty member of many UK and Malaysian universities. Join me in welcoming the CEO, co-founder and also Director Academics at IIHS, Dr. Kitsiri Edirisinghe. Hello to you, sir.
Hello.
So to get the conversation started, I would like to deeply get into the conversation of modern trends of learning. For every parent, education is the most important factor in their children's life. Parents take a great effort to their children, to educate them, to bring them up. What do you mean by an intelligent kid? I'm sure all parents want their kids to be intelligent. So what do you really mean by an intelligent kid, and what should parents do to have intelligent kids is my very first question.
It's an important question where the intelligence, as far as intelligence is concerned, it is the capacity of a human to absorb information, analyze information and solve problems in simple terms. So sometimes you use aptitude or creativity, all that comes in one package called intelligence. So intelligence is that all happens in the brain. That's the most vital part of the organ of our body, vital organ of the body. So, today's world, so there are intelligent personalities like Judith Thorgard. I don't think everybody would even ring any bells if I tell Judith Thorgard. She has the highest IQ, intelligent quotient in the world. So, but if I talk about Mahatma Gandhi, if I talk about Mark Zuckerberg, everybody would say, yes, I know.
Yeah.
So these are the people who have changed the world. They are change agents. So we call them smart people. So there's intelligent people who has high IQ. Then there's a smart people who are change agents. So what we need today, the 21st century challenges, what we saw in COVID, not only the intelligent people, but we need smart people as well.
Definitely.
So let's look at how the intelligence is formed. So when we are born, we have 100 billion brain cells. Brain cells are called neurons. A neuron is there's a head and a tail. The tail is called axon, and then each cell is connected with each other, thing called a small junction called a synapses. I'll be using these words in the next few minutes. So what happens with these brain cells slowly grow in the first 2 years. We call proliferation stage. We connect to each other. So there will be many connections happening within the brain. And second part, the brain's neurons, there's an electrical impulse. As we know, all the electrical impulses, it can lose the energy. So therefore, we have to insulation. So we do a thing called a myelination, where the lipid layer would come in. All that happens between first 2 to 7 years.
Okay.
So that would itself will not have any use until if you divide the brain into compartments. We call it a compartmentalization or pruning of the brain.
Right.
When you prune a tree,
Yeah.
so it divides into different departments in order to do a specific function. For example, for us to see at the back of the brain, there's a thing at the brain specific area. To talk, there's a language area. So likewise, Dr. Howard Gardner came up with a theory called multiple intelligence theory, where how the brain could absorb 8 types of learning or the intelligence. So one is the visual, you see things, then hearing, then words that you speak, then people could be smart doing practical things. And there is another one, they work together and then individually they work. And then some kids are good at naturalistic environment. So there are different inputs that you get in order to shape the brain.
Right.
So it's very important that 2 to 7 years the more you have physical interactions with the environment, brain will shape it up. So at the end of the day, your brain optimization of the brain has not only grown but nicely ready to learn. That's what's happening in the development of the brain.
So that's how you call a kid intelligent. Now to the latter part of the question which I asked, what should parents really do to have intelligent or to make their kids intelligent?
Yes, it's very important that you give many inputs as much as possible in order to shape the brain, as I told you before. So what happens in the South Asian regions, like in Sri Lanka, the kids are looked after by, babies are looked after by either servants or the grandparents. They are very protective. They think this kid is very fragile. So they try level best to lift them up and not to allow them to move around. So if they don't move, they don't encounter different environments, they don't get the inputs that are needed to shape the brain. So I would rather advise, make an agile kid rather than a fragile kid in order to make them intelligent in the future.
I think these days agility is a trending word where we say you should make the kids agile, you should even have agile types of working even for adults. So that's a very good statement where we say it's important to make the kids agile and not fragile. With that, I think we will be back after a very short break. Welcome back after the break. So today we are in discussion with Dr. Edhiri Singha on modern trends of learning. So to continue the discussion, Doctor, now what are the things that we should know for the development and for maintaining the intelligence of the brain? Probably, you know, to put it in a simpler way, to have a healthy brain, what are the things that we should be mindful of?
Yes, a healthy brain is needed in order to, brain should be ready to learn. So how can we work on this? Now, parents would have a majority of the responsibility has to be taken by the parents, simply because the students would spend only 6 hours in the school and rest of the day they are at home. So thanks to COVID, the parents had a feel of what education is. They have to take more responsibility. And what happens in the basic learning process is that we take an input. It's like a computer. There's an input, process and the output. So input is that we learn in different formats that I told you, and then we process, we memorize, and then we retrieve information, the output. So that's the process of learning. So to make the brain ready to learn, or make brain, in other words, make it healthy, Professor Terry Doyle, he came up with a very simple but very important 5 suggestions. He told, eat, drink, run, breathe and be active. So if you take the first one, drinking water is very important, because brain cell is like a sponge. It's filled of sponge. If you don't have water, it becomes a sponge which is squeezed out. So what does the water do to the brain cell, the neuron to work? The water is essential for creating hormones, production of the hormones, as well as the neurotransmitters. This gap I told you between the one cell to the other is supported by neurotransmitters to send the message across. So it's very important. So it is at least 2 liters of water has to be taken by students. It's mandatory. And of course, if they if they do exercises or physical activities, it can go up to 4 liters. So 2 is mandatory. Secondly, eat. The brain cell it has lot of energy. In comparison with a muscle cell, it uses 20 times more energy than a muscle cell. In other words, for you to study, you should eat 20 times more than when you do exercises or play. So that's a mindset that we have to get into. So why it is important? All the energy needed in the neurons and the production of the other proteins, that is important to have proper balanced diet. So what is a balanced diet? So balanced diet is one that has like rice, fish, loads of fruit, and vegetable and green leaf vegetables are the other cereals. So those are simple. Our staple diet is, balanced diet is there in Sri Lanka. That's not a problem.
But I think we overdo it.
So there is a way that it is said that to get away from highly refined sugar and also unsaturated fats. So that would reduce there's a thing called a neurotrophins, chemical that is produced, important to send the message across. So you have to balance it. So reduce the sugar and fat and increase the other balanced diet. In another theory that is there, where the gut is called a gut brain. Our stomach, it produces a neurotransmitter called serotonin. I think in traditional medicine, you would see they would try to clear your gut first before they give their medicines.
Okay.
There's a scientific background to it, because the serotonin is produced in the gut, so that would give more your brain and the whole body healthy. So therefore, it's important to get high fiber diets, because that would support the serotonin production. Second one, run, exercise. What happens in exercise? When you exercise, there are chemicals produced and released into the bloodstream that would support the optimum brain function. So that is, and also when you exercise, you have more, you can concentrate more, you can focus more, and less, there's more mental stability and lesser chance of getting boredom, and then of course going into depression. So, current thinking is minimum 20 hours of simple exercises a day is mandatory for proper learning, 20 minutes. Then third one is to sleep. So if you sleep, what happens during sleep, the brain is also, there are cells, it produces energy, then it produces a waste. The waste has to be removed. If you don't remove the waste, it accumulated. Now there's a thing called amyloid, and then amyloid is, if we get stagnated over a period of time, you end up in a disease called Alzheimer's, where the memory would be gone. We call dementic people. So therefore, it's important to sleep well more than 7 hours. Secondly, it says the concentration power of the brain is more when you sleep more than 7 hours. So research says one night's total sleepless night equivalent to you are having alcohol in 80 milligrams per deciliter. That's the drunk driving level. So the concentration power is less. And then of course, when you sleep, once you come up, you have more creativity, better ideas, all that. Then the other thing is oxygen. Have oxygen, better oxygen as much as possible, because oxygen is, the brain cells use 20% of the body oxygen. So for that to do the yoga, the basic breathing exercises, small walks, and being in a proper naturally ventilated environment, those all would support them. So those are the things that are important for you to, which are the simple things that you can do at home. And it always says the movement has created, the momentum has created our cave days right up to becoming the most intelligent species. Human became the most intelligent species because they started moving. They encountered in the environment. Then the brain shaped up. So likewise, all these, if you put nutshell, you need an active learner for you to be intelligent.
I think this is also a reminder to all of us who keep complaining about busy lives, busy that and this, everything, to have a very healthy brain. Simple things, just a reminder, to eat right, to drink your water right, to get your sleep right, and also to exercise, and also to breathe right, to get the right amount of oxygen to your body, so that you and I also can be intelligent, improve our intelligence. Am I right, doctor?
Absolutely.
So along with staying on the topic again, nowadays, what are the modern trends of teaching the teachers could use to bring up intelligent kids or literally the modern trends of learning.
Yes, the last week we celebrated the World's Teachers' Day.
Of course,
I was part of one of the celebration. I was so grateful for the teachers who has brought generations, not one, generations of youth to professionals and add value to the common man at the end of the day, and then making this world a better place. Parallelly, I was just thinking the profile of current teachers, will they survive? This is a very arguable thing, because current profile, if you really look at the current profile of teachers, teachers are very powerful. What they do is they download information and release to the kids, and the attention is towards the teacher. All attention is towards the teacher, and they would say one answer to a question. They give a question, and there's only one answer to a question. According to the Professor Sir Ken Robinson, who is an international educator, he says this kind of teaching would converge the kids into a one groove, because there's only one answer to a question. It's called a convergent thinking pattern. And also, these kids today's kids they have a very short attention span. Probably milliseconds, because downloading speed we tell them. So then for them this becomes very boring. They can't stay in the classroom more than 10 to 20 minutes. Attention is not there. Then what teachers, as teachers, what we do, we try to give more homework, and then parents would take them from more towards tuition and fill the brain more. It is said that today's education has to be creating mirrors into windows. Creating mirrors into windows. It's not that you reflect as a teacher, give them back, but open the door, give them many options for them to see. So that is called a divergent thinking pattern. So how can we create a divergent thinking pattern? Because one of the examples of convergent thinking pattern is that in South Asian region, more you get educated, you become very difficult people. You be unapproachable, because you have one answer to a question. You become stubborn, grumpy, and all that happens is simply because it's an education system. It's not a personal problem. That you have a convergent thinking pattern, and they have few answers when especially a thing like COVID comes up suddenly. Though we are so intelligent, our smartness have gone out. The creativity kills. The system kills the creativity. So therefore, it's very important for us to think how to organize the divergent thinking pattern. How can we do this? Now, as I told you before, this boring classroom, can we make it a very aesthetic classroom, where how the kids are happy when they watch a cricket match, they watch a teledrama, Netflix, all that, they really, all their minds, all the senses are open. It's called aesthetic environment.
Yeah.
What is happening is we create an anesthetic environment. We shut down their senses. When you open up, you can't remember anything.
That's right.
So therefore, to create that aesthetic environment, teachers can really look at the few things. I call it 7 C's.
Okay.
So first thing is create a student-centric environment. Pass the ball back to the student, and you be a facilitator rather than a leader. So you have more attention to and the more connection with the kid rather than being attention to yourself.
Yeah.
And also try to include everyone in the classroom. Attention should go to more weak students rather than the bright students. So that's called inclusivity. So you have to, when you teach, try to inculcate all the learning styles that I mentioned. That is important. Second thing, give the kids a choice. Today, I'm not going to use the classroom board. You use the board, and you give them back, pass the ball back to them. They really enjoy. The third one is a collaborative learning. So students, many brains are better than one brain. They can get together. They do activity-based learning. So they work together nice, and then brain start stimulating. They might not respond to the teacher, but they would respond to the fellow students. The critical thinking, other C. Critical thinking is very important to find the most important problem to answer. To do that, we have to train them on evidence-based thinking. Now, one of the problems that we have is most of the young youth, they avoid getting a vaccine simply because they don't read. They are not evidence-based. It's hearsay. So, evidence-based thinking is very important for the 21st century. And case-based studies. So, other C is creativity. How can you, or what happens in typical education, we always stimulate the left brain, that has the all intelligence goes there. But the creativity and the thinking and the concepts come from the right brain. So, we have to stimulate that too, otherwise they will be intelligent but not smart. So, you can add drama, arts, value engineering of that kind of arts related subjects into this and work along that. You can evaluate things like in a drama, right, role play, that kind of a thing. So, all the things can be done. And the other one is create consistency. You have a curriculum, you have a lesson plan, you have to work within that. So, to do that you have to use technology. Technology is in the fingertips of everyone's. There are learner management systems, there are virtual learning environments, all that could create equal an opportunity for students to learn, equal an opportunity for them to do the test. All that can be done. Finally, final C is the care. Care is, there are two cares. One is the love for the kids, love for the subjects. Teachers should love their subject that they are teaching. Second one, you should love the kid even if they don't like them. So, in order to do this, once you work on this, the modern way of learning, the whole idea is to create global citizens. The global citizens who are responsible for their fellows, who respect their fellow members, other gender, social elements, culturally, and most especially the environment. So, they can take up the 21st century challenges.
I think that was a very important discussion we had today. With that, we have actually come to the latter part of the program today. Before we wind up, I would like to ask you, do you have any message to the public who are watching us right now on this modern trends of learning?
Well, it's time to step aside and think back what we have been doing. We are a country produce excellent professionals. And our system, because of the resource constraints, only few can go to the top end universities in Sri Lanka. Some would go out, the rest, the majority would go for vocational training, or sometimes they have unskilled labor. So, it's as a country who has highest literacy rate in the region, we should not have more housemaids in the Middle East. We should have more professionals working outside. So, therefore, we all should get together and try to look at the excluded lot from the education system and give them more opportunity.
I think keeping all of that in mind, what I took out of it is we all should, tap on ourselves and alarm ourselves. It's time, high time we all be responsible citizens and take responsibility for everything that we do and for the country. With that, it's now time to wind the program today. Thank you so much to the CEO, co-founder, Director Academics at IIHS, Dr. Kitsiri Edrasinghe. Thank you so much for joining with us today, Doctor.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
And we hope to join with another great and insightful episode with Other Derana BIZ 24 soon. Till then, have a good day.